Everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe Show, the home of Epic Conversations, and I'm the host of Epic Conversations, 2018 Innovation Award winner, 2020 Best Podcast News Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads, fathers, and male caregivers that's sponsored by Dove Men Plus Care. And being part of that team, we've reached out directly and indirectly to over 400,000 dads, fathers, and male caregivers around the world. And as always, I'd like to say you're blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. And it's Black Canada Talking, where Black Canadians give their takes, their views, their points about local, provincial, national, and international subjects of interest to them. And we're broadcasting live on Sunday, June 29th. I feel a little bit bad that I brought on these two friends on the show today because the weather is so nice outside. I mean, it is so beautiful. I would say it's one of the nicest days of this year so far. It's warm, but it's not too warm. There isn't a lot of humidity. There's a breeze. Actually, earlier on today, I went out. I had some relatives visiting from Montreal. We went to a restaurant that had a rooftop, but they had the rooftop shade pull over, so we weren't in direct sunlight. It was so nice. So I'm full, but I'm going to get more full now from the conversation that's coming up, but that's all good. Looking forward to it, and hope wherever you're watching this, wherever you are, however you may be, whether it's live on repeat, I hope you're keeping blessed, highly favored, a magnet for miracles, and a solution for someone's problem. All right. I'm happy today because my reception is good with this new platform. It has its moments, but that is taken care of. And we've got two new friends coming up. And we haven't had a chance throughout my journey being online to talk about relationships that much, and especially from Black couples who are married, who are professionals, who are good people. And I spoke to the queen of the relationship a few weeks ago, and she goes, "Oh, maybe we should maybe do a conversation on this." Go, yeah. Let's do this. That's what we're gonna do today. We're gonna have two friends on today talking about Black couples loving first, lead with love, living and working together, and they're going to bring some unique perspectives, some great takes, and I'm warning everyone ahead of time, there may be a part two. I was told there may be a part two. I'm looking forward to it. What we're going to do is we're going to go right quick. We're going to go to a commercial, and when we come back, we're going to have Fatima and Ronald on with us, and we're going to lay it down when it comes to Black couples and Black love and Black relationships. So we'll be back in 30 seconds. What is up, everybody? It's Dr. Vibe here. These are two ladies. They're not all over the place. They're forward, and they're straight shooters.
I got to stand in front.
No wonder people don't understand what the Democrats have been doing. That man lied 36,000 times, and we know this because you all counted it.
This is part of the story that a lot of news outlets are not talking about. Don't miss it if you can. 5 p.m. Saturday afternoons Eastern Time, 2 p.m. Pacific. Aisha K. Staggers and Laura Lala Key laying it down about, as they say, the sense, trying to make sense out of the nonsense that's going on in America. That's their country. It's not our country. We're in Canada, but they have impact whether we like it or not. And highly recommend, if you didn't catch yesterday's episode, it was fire. It was always fire, but yesterday, they were just on a different level yesterday, a higher level, higher plane, higher purpose. So strongly recommend it. So wherever you're watching this, check out the replay. Let's get to some housework. Subscribe to the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube and hit the notification button. Like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X/Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Yes, we're on all those platforms through the team. Not me. Well, I'm just creating the content. They push it all out. Also, to advertise your business, product, or service on our show, please email me, dr.vibe@vibeshow.com. And then finally, cannot forget Dr. Tachi, who's the power behind Indie Soup TV. What's Indie Soup TV? It's an independent content creators platform that's on YouTube, which in 14 or 15 months has 25,000. Am I You know what? I think it's 27,000 subscribers, which is crazy because realize only 4% of all YouTube channels have over 10,000 subscribers. Go figure. So she's doing incredible hard work. We're blessed to have some of our content or that we do on that platform. Also, I'm a member of the advisory board. There's a website. All right, I told you we had two friends on the show today, Fatima and Ron. So let's bring them up. We're going to have a wonderful conversation about Black couples loving, living, and working together. How we both doing today?
Super.
Go on.
I'm super fantabulous.
I don't believe it. Ron is the first time Ron said something in the last 15 minutes.
Well, you asked me a question, I got to answer.
So good to have you both. First and foremost, I want to thank both of you for taking the most important thing in your lives, your time, to share with us today. And I'm happy that you two are chatting about this. I'm really happy. It's an area that a number of people think that it's not happening and it can't be done. But you're going to share with us it can be done, and it can be done, period. Not always perfect, but it can be done. It's being done. Exactly. It's being done. So let's get it started. Can each of you share a little bit about your backgrounds and what drew you into the perspective areas that you're in? Because I know you both work in different areas, but a little bit about your background and what drew you to what you're doing today professionally.
Go ahead.
So I am an author, speaker, and a small business incubator coach for Sheridan Edge and other personal clients that I have. And what drew me to that was writing my book, Over the Wall. And Over the Wall is just recounting my life stories and the anti-Black racism, microaggressions, and cultural identity that I faced. And so I used those skills that I learned, life skills, life experiences, and I bring that to say, and my favorite quote that I created was, "There's hope for anyone at any time and at any age." And if you ask me who I am spiritually and energetically, I'm hope in human form. And so then I take that platform of being hope and then I give it back in my speaking engagements. I'm an international speaker. And also in my coaching, I give that back as to give people hope. So when they leave my presence, you're filled with hope.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. Ron?
I make music, and it's a little odd for me to talk about like the origins of that, because I've been making music in one way or another since I was a little kid. I used to beatbox when I was walking back and forth from school, and that just developed into songwriting and being a musician. And then I discovered digital music about 10 years ago, and I kind of fell in love with the fact that I could do everything myself and didn't really have to necessarily deal with a band and stuff like that, the old school way. Because when I was much younger, that's how we made music. We formed bands and we play parties and stuff like that, which is wonderful, good times. But to be honest with you, it can be a real pain in the arse.
Yeah, dealing with people, right?
Yeah, for real.
Absolutely.
But that's me. I just love making music. It's like it's a part of me. So there's no beginning to it.
Nice. Well, if we ever get the opportunity of meeting, I hope I can introduce you to my dad, who is a member of the American Vinyl Record Collectors of America Hall of Fame.
Oh, no way.
Yes, he is a true musicologist, and he's getting up there in age now. He's beginning to sell off parts of his collection, but one of his greatest joy in life is, other than his kids, is making music. And to date himself, he still has reel-to-reel players in his man cave. He had a man cave long before, and he has his Macintosh amplifier.
Very nice.
So hopefully we can cross paths with that, but that's fantastic. And thanks for a great kickoff. Let's get into a little bit. How did you two meet, and what attracted you to each other, both personally and professionally?
Seriously though, we met in like junior high in grade 7 in Mrs. Kwan's or is it Miss Kwan?
Yeah, Mrs. Kwan.
Miss Kwan's homeroom, and Fatima sat behind me, and she used to pick stuff out of my. I had a fro. I had like big hair, and she used to pick stuff out of it because I was a nasty little boy, and she used to irritate the crap out of me with that. But to be honest with you, I love the attention, and you have to understand. I grew up like I was an adopted child, and I got adopted into a white family in a white neighborhood, and she was one of very, very few people who were even close to like culturally or like ethnically like me. So I was just, I was like, this is amazing. And she had an accent because she's from Barbados, right? And back then she's like, she hadn't been off the boat for too long. So it was thicker. And I loved it. I just thought it was the most amazing thing on earth. I was like, this is junior high. This is puberty. You know what I'm saying? Like, she was cute. What can I say? So that's my take on all
that. Anything you want to change? Because usually when a guy says the story, the lady needs to edit. But I don't know how much editing you're going to do from that.
I'm not going to edit any. You said you wanted him to hear him talk. You hear now? You've unleashed it. So it's all in the book, and that's the recount of the story is exactly how he said it. He was the first friendly blackface that I saw when I moved to Etobicoke in 1979, and we were in Mrs. Kwan's class, and I did pick stuff out of his hair, and then one day he said, yeah, you need to stop that.
And we used to walk home from school. Like it's really like, it's like one of those old school tales. Like we used to, every day we'd walk home from school, that kind of thing, and just talk for hours and about whatever. Who knows what kids talk about? I don't remember any of it.
Wow. Yeah. That is phenomenal. Ron, I'm going to put a request out to you if you can in the future. I'm going to ask a favor. I would love you to come back on the show and talk about your experience being adopted.
Oh, I would love to talk about that. Yeah.
I told you there's a part 2. Now you're up to part 3 and 4.
Just that there. Both you are on. Ron, that's a whole other conversation itself, especially from a black male perspective.
Yeah.
Being adopted, because you don't get a chance to see that. We got a comment already in the house. Althea Kador says, love to see positive examples of couples building together and supporting the community. Love it. Love it. And producer Matt goes, your story is insanely adorable. I love that. Wow. We could go down the professional road now. Let's talk about Okay, let's talk about this. How do you balance your personal relationship with your professional lives, especially when both of you have such dynamic careers?
That's a really good question. And to start at the beginning, not at the beginning, but one day we were lying in bed and Ron said, I can't keep doing what I'm doing as a butcher all my life. So we need to branch off and we need to like own a business. So what would that business be? We thought of us, because he's also a chef. He didn't say that.
Okay, all right. That's now part 4, food. Go on.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because we're foodies. So he was a chef, and I said, okay, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. Let's do that. But then what am I going to do? And then he's like, I don't know. I can't help you with that. You got to figure out what you want to do for yourself. And then came the book, then came the workshops and everything else. So the balance really is supporting one another in each of the ventures that we do. So when I go to marketplaces or I go to events, he comes with me. When he has something going on, I go with him. We take programs together and carving out time for each other every Saturday and Sunday morning, because we were both busy. He was busy making music. I was busy hitting the ground, going out and getting the business being known out there. And so we had to decide what kind of time are we going to spend with each other and for each other and with each other. So we do Saturday mornings, we do that. And then I try in my schedule not to book anything from 3 to 5 when he comes home, so we can talk about our days. We could play the word game or watch the kind of silly shows that we watch that takes us away from reality, which would be Young and the Restless.
Oh,
uh,
come on.
the
Come on.
court, that court show. There's a coach show.
Hot Bench.
Hot Bench. We watch Hot Bench.
Yeah.
We watch Hot Bench. We there's a couple of other ones that we watch, or we just sit and we talk about our day or talk about what's going on. But that's how I help to create the balance. I don't know what you want to say.
I mean, that's more or less it. You know, we respect each other's space, and for me personally, if I have the chance to hang out with Fatima, I'm going to hang out with her. But she's very understanding if I just can't do that because I've got things to work on, and I am very understanding of her of her space and the things that she does take up a lot more time with other people. I mostly what I do by myself. So she's out of the house a lot when she's promoting her product and stuff like that, because I mean, it's a physical book. You got to go out and sell it. You got to do all that kind of stuff. So I don't get really, I don't get freaked out about all that. I mean, she has a dream. I have a dream. We got things we want to do. And I know that a lot of couples, I don't know whether that would go over so well. I mean, she's always talking to people. She's always on the phone. And I sometimes wonder whether in some relationships that cause a problem. It doesn't in this one. So.
Okay. Yeah. Out of curiosity, where did you both get your foundation about relationships? Where did you get that?
That's an interesting question.
I'm going to say the foundation came from a course called Landmark. And Landmark is a personal growth and development course.
Mm-hmm.
And I did it first. And then when Ron came into my life, he did it and did it's called the Curriculum for Living. And in Landmark, the thing is one of the pillars that they have is listen for and reliably deliver that which is important to someone. So it's always listening for what's important for Ron, what's important for me. It's also the communication. I was committed to our communication not being very good in the beginning, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming. But then I said, I'm committed to listen for what's beyond that. What's beyond the scream? What's beyond the yelling? Getting to the root cause of whatever the topic is, and then talking it out. So that's something that's been fundamental and rooted, is having good communication, talking about things, even though, it's going to upset the other person. Just say, I need you to listen, or, preface it, create context around it, because context is decisive. And so those to me are the kind of pillars that we have. And we've built together that foundation, because that's not existing in my family lineage. So I don't know what you want to say to that.
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because, my family life was, I mean, my young domestic life, like it was a lot of chaos in a lot of ways. Like my parents, my adopted parents divorced. I think my mom went a little bit loopy. And I had spent a lot of time by myself. I find that what I do is I just listen. I think I try to listen to you. I really do. I don't know if it comes across that way, but I always try to consider whatever it is you say. It sometimes takes a while, I'm like a thick-headed guy. But if you tell me something, I'll mull it over in my head if I don't necessarily agree. But I'll keep on thinking about it and keep on trying to rationalize it inside of myself to the point where I can kind of get really where you're coming from, where you feel where I feel you're coming from. Empathy, and I don't know, and just I kind of get tied up, but I just think it's a responsibility of people who are in love to just really sort of like listen all the time. Yeah, just pay attention.
And that takes a lot of practice. We're also 13 years in. In the beginning, I don't think anybody was listening to anybody. But the other thing is, for me, I set a realistic expectation because we're both coming out of 2 long-term relationships with people we have children with. And so that is another thing. So we have to create a whole different foundation for ourselves that isn't based off of the past relationships that we two have, that we have children with the other people. So that landmark helped us to also create the foundation for us, about us, and for us.
So good. And there's so many conversation points I want to take from what both of you have shared. What of if you just take a look at the Black environment out there, what percentage of couples do you feel invests in the relationship like you have?
I don't know.
I haven't foggish that big.
I haven't the thought.
I don't know what people's relationships are like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Now you said it there, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the early part of the journey, it wasn't the greatest.
No.
Was there a moment or some moments where it began to U-turn?
I
That's
would
an interesting question.
I would say, and we were talking about this morning, I think, or yesterday morning. I think there was a time, if I'm going to be honest, we were always breaking up at the same time every year. And that was around this time, July. That was around July. But then what we did was the landmark forum was happening in July. And there was a guy whose name is Larry Pearson. Larry Pearson, a Black guy in the United States, he was leading it. And we said, we got to be in there, because the week before we were like, okay, we're done with this nonsense. I'm out. And then we went to his forum, and he has a way of talking to people and to couples, especially if they're in the room. And he's like, do you understand the way you're so stoic and the way you were being, how it affects her? And he's like, no, I don't really know. So he really had us see how we are being with each other when we're angry or upset. That doesn't allow for the penetration of love to come through, empathy to come through, communication to come through, because we're all about what each other wants in that moment. And that was like an aha moment and a turning point, because I don't think from then we've ever said that, okay, we're out.
Right.
That's for me. And you can see I never talk for him. I cannot talk for him, because that would be the most ridiculous thing that I could ever do. And I also got that from a Bible study for wives that I used to attend. And the women was like, oh, you should tell him how to do this, and you should. I said, me? No. I cannot talk for him, feel for him, and tell him what to do. And they were like, oh, adamant. And then the one guy in the room said, she's doing the right thing. She can't do that to him. Then that deflates who he is as a man. So I can't talk for him, feel, and he always says that, you can't talk for me, you can't feel for me. Like I can't do that. So you now have to say what's that?
What a lead, eh?
Yeah, that's true though. A lot of that is bang on. That course she's talking about, that was a really good course. I must say, I learned a lot about myself, and the example Fatima gave was a really good one. I had no idea. I never really thought about how she perceives me, because I'm a kind of person who can just shut up, and it's not malice. If I don't know what to say, I'll think it over until I have something to say, or if I feel hurt or anything, I'll just close off. And I never really got the idea that just creates rifts. Like it's like I'm putting up a wall. You put up a wall, basically, it's kind of like you're starting a fight, right? Yeah. And so, yeah, I think that that had a lot to do. That course was actually it was really foundational in a lot of ways. We get along much better because we learned how to listen with, they gave us, it was like there's tools to listening. It's one thing to listen. It's another thing to have like a sort of like a framework to listen from, and to really find out what's in between the words that your partner's saying.
And the context of which you're coming from. What does that mean? It's always like, what does that mean? One of the things is I have a face. I perceive that your face is saying this, 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 this. I said, you got to ask me, what is my face saying? Maybe I got gut issues. Maybe I'm in pain. Maybe I'm thinking about something that has nothing to do with you. So you always need to ask me, what is my face saying? You can't assume it. And I got to realize that my face belongs to him or whoever it is that I'm speaking about, because I can't see my face.
It's good. Where would both you be if you didn't take that course?
Not here sitting talking to you.
I mean, who knows, right? No, seriously, though. I gotta say this, though.
I gotta save that clip. That was a great moment. Go ahead, Ron. Sorry to cut you there.
No, the thing is, before we got together, like I had this other relationship, and it ended. It was another marriage, and for a long period of time, I was really, really bitter towards that person, and I wouldn't give them anything. It was just I was right, they were wrong. Honestly, I was clearly wrong. I don't want to get into it, but I was. And there was a moment when that really came to me, like it. And this is what I'm trying to say is that this was without the course. This is before we were even, back together. And I think that if you think about yourself enough and you think about your relationship to the rest of the world enough, anybody is going to come to conclusions that are pretty solid. And the reason I'm saying this is because you're a little harder than I am. Like you're a little bit more, you have more of a foundation, like a personality foundation. I'm very, very, I don't know, I don't want to say flighty. Like I'm always absorbing information and redefining wherever I'm coming from. So, if you're forceful enough with me with a point, I'll get it eventually if there's any validity to it at all. So I'm very much willing to bend. I will just put up a really real big thing beforehand.
Did you hear that? If there's any validity to it at all, that's the caveat right there. If it's not valid, he's done, outgone, and then you got to bring it around so that it becomes valid to him. Don't even. You said if it's valid for you. So it's not valid for me, then, forget about it. It's done. Yeah.
All I was trying to say you can work with me. And I'll work with you. Right?
Once it's valid.
And another thing. Sorry, I have this one more other thing. And this is something I've always told her, and I've always felt this way about her. We met so long ago. And when I remember, like, because we were apart for a long time. We had these other families and all this
25 years apart.
But what? Yeah. And we re-met online because I was living in the States and she was still up here. And so, but as soon as I saw her face come up on Facebook, I was like, oh, because all I could think of was, this was my old buddy from back in the day. I had never, like, honestly, she's one of the few people, if maybe the only person in this world, I can honestly say, she's never screwed me around. Like I have no ill will towards her. So she's a very special person to me that way. So I give her a lot that I wouldn't, if I had another relationship, this relationship didn't work out for some reason. I don't know that I could have, I couldn't trust anybody else the way I trust her. Even if that other person was completely trustworthy, in the back of my head, I'd be like, I don't know you. But I feel as though I know her. And,
it helps when you meet when you're 12 and 13 years old.
Because it was a time when there was a lot of genuineness. Yeah. Most 12-year-olds are pretty genuine.
Yeah, we weren't scarred by the world yet.
I love that term. Not scarred by the world. I love it. And I didn't know some of this backstory, so I find it very interesting. I want to get some more conversation of it. You hadn't seen each other for 25. Okay, I know 25 years. Okay, we're just taking little snippets. We're not going to get all into the book, but you hadn't seen each other for 25 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a long time for real.
Yeah, like that's a quarter of a century, family.
Yeah.
When did you know? and I'm going to ask individually, when
Okay.
did you each know that this was the right person and this is the right time?
Listen, when I'm gonna say this straight up, when her face showed up on Facebook, I was like, wow, because I was in between relationships, like
Yeah.
I was at that, I was like, what do you call it? Fertile ground for a relationship.
Or playing the field?
Well, yeah, you know,
Okay.
but the thing, and I was open. Let's just put it that way.
Yep.
Um, and so when she showed up on my feed, I was like, I don't know how long ago it was before she showed up on my feed, but I had been telling this friend at work. I said, dude, back in the day, I said, I can't remember why it came up, but we were talking about relationships or something like that, and I just said, well, yeah, there was this girl I used to know when I was in, like, you know, high school, because we did, you know, we met in middle school, but we went to the same high school too and all that.
Right.
And I just explained that we kissed like this one time when we were back in the day, and it was an amazing kiss. You know those kisses you have when you're really young and just like sort of
What?
shit. And so, pardon the language, but
All right.
so that kiss was amazing. Like it's one of those kiss. I didn't forget it. You know what I'm saying? So when her face showed up, I mean, here's this person I adore, I trust her, and I remember having this absolutely awesome romantic moment. Like I was kind of hooked from that moment, is what I'm trying to say. I was like, well, you know, in the back of my head, I got to make this work. But I didn't know where it was going to go. Don't get me wrong. I'm not being presumptuous. I wasn't presumptuous, but you know,
Lady.
And so you know, you just don't want to run with that answer. You just
No, but like, well, there's an old song for the Music Man. It sounds like, Ron, you had whip appeal from that kiss.
oh hell yeah.
guys too much. But you know what? When I got Facebook, I worked with a lady and she said, oh, there's this new platform coming out, you should go on. I said, I don't have time for that. Do you not see I have kids? I have this, I got that, I got a life. I don't have time for Facebook. So I got it with the intentions of looking for people in my life who I haven't seen in a long time, and I wanted to find them.
Right.
And Ron was one of them. So I kept putting it in, and he never came up. So then one day his face came up, and his picture was sideways. He looked like bald like he is now. He was kind of like he worked out, like, dang, you look good. And so I sent him a message. And then within 5 minutes, because I had already done it 2 weeks prior, and I had the conversation with me and the universe, me and God. I'm not gonna look now, don't look now. I don't want to look. Leave me alone. I'm not looking. Okay, fine, I'm looking. And then his picture popped up. And so when I sent it to him, he wrote back in less than 5 minutes. I'm like, dang, that was quick after looking for so long. And then we started talking. I'm not a typist, so I said, can I call you? So when I called him, Google phone, we use Google phone.
Yeah.
We use Google phone. And then he said, oh, do you remember that kiss? And I'm like, dang, of course I remember the kiss. Right? I remember the kiss. So that was kind of cool. But the moment for me was, we had decided, okay, we're going to be in a relationship. We told each other so this was January the 12th. And on February, Valentine's Day, I told him that I loved him. He goes, I love you too. And that's what I meant by I had strong feelings for you. I'm like, I didn't know what that meant. But he kept saying that every time we signed off the phone. But for me, what it was is I went to see him in Florida. I went to see him to see, is the sparks we're going to fly? Is this going to be a thing? I said yes to marrying this guy. Haven't seen him in 25 years. Are you crazy? What are you doing? So I'm sitting on the stairs in my house, waiting for my cousin to pick me up. And my spirit says, just go. You never know what's going to happen. Just go. And the funny thing is, he's picking me up from Orlando International Airport. And there's one red car and only me on the platform. You can imagine. Orlando International Airport.
Very
and then he pulls up and gets out. He goes, Fatima. I said, Ron. And I'm like, dang, yeah, that was it. That was my moment right there, right then. And I said, how serendipitous is that? There's nobody else on this platform. There's one lonely red car and me.
Wow. That's a story.
That see, I've told you, any one of these stories can be another show.
This is exactly why I'm going to say there's going to be another show.
Just
100%. Now, both of you have children from other relationships.
yeah.
How, if any, was that a challenge, especially when you said we are for each other? Did you have to overcome some challenges in the early days, especially with that situation from both lenses that you're coming from?
Good question.
I would say yes. And I would say yes because when Ron came back from Toronto, I had set my kids up to say he's going to go stay with his family, not with us. But then it wasn't appropriate. There was no room for him there. And he came directly safe. So I got a lot of, pushback from my kids. I didn't think he was coming to stay here right now. Why is he here right now? Because they were like 12 and 14, something like that. They were really young. And so, there was that type of pushback. And then again, being in the Landmark Forum, calling family meetings, we had to have a lot of family meetings to iron out the things that we needed to iron out with my kids because we live with my kids, but his kids are still in Florida. One's in Florida now and one's in Baltimore, but there was a lot to iron out. And how I did it was a lot of family meetings because we had all done Landmark. My kids had done it. His kids have done it. We've done
Wow.
it. So it's a powerful stance when you have that kind of background, personal growth and development background, where you're giving them the space to be heard and to talk. And so over the years, we've had a lot of family meetings where people talk, whether it's yelling or screaming, whatever it is. But in the end, we're hearing and we're walking away with no animosity. It's not like we're holding something against each other.
Hmm.
I would say that I'm not a chatty person. I don't really. I rarely start a conversation. I'll engage in a. If you engage me in conversation, I'll give you whatever I have. But I don't start a lot of conversations, and so it was interesting for me, a little trying for me to have to deal with somebody else's kids. You know what I'm saying? Like it was. I didn't really know how to communicate with them, and I don't communicate that I just don't communicate that well in general. So that was a little trying for me. I also felt kind of guilty because I left my kids back in the States to come up here. And the reason I came up here, it was to be with you, but really the fundamental reason, the reason why it had to be when it was because my mom, she was going through dementia, and so I really needed to see her, and so that's why I came up here. So I left my kids. I felt like I was leaving my kids sort of high and dry, and that made me a little on the moody side. Is what I'm getting at, and maybe I don't know how to really put it, but it's weird, kind of like looking at somebody else with their kids, and they're like, just they're really tight because she's really close to her kids, like one person really. I mean, it's funny to watch when her kids come home from work. It's like everything's like really quiet and mellow, and then it's like the alarm goes off. You're like, wow, and I can't really keep up with all that, right?
Right.
So I feel a little weird about that. Not about that, but about not being with my kids and almost having a good time without my kids there. And yeah, that's kind of weird. When I say that, it sounds kind of like it sounds sort of like a real weird problem to have, but I had it.
But it's a legit problem, and I understood that. So that's why for me, I've always wanted him to foster a relationship with his kids, because some people, they go away and the relationship with their kids. And I said, but that doesn't necessarily have to be you because you've got phones. You can bring them here. You can go to them. I will never tell you don't go visit your kids. I will never tell you don't bring them here. One of his sons stayed with us through the whole pandemic when they shut everything down. He was actually here visiting his dad, and then for reading week, and then he didn't leave till July.
Wow.
So it's
Awesome.
not
That's
like
awesome.
I'm gonna say, no, he can't stay. You must take him back. Nah. Like if that's your child. So bring him in. We all embrace. We get along. We do things together. Like I said, they did the landmark forum. Uh, not this Christmas, but the Christmas before, we went to Florida to be with them. Him and Ashton made Christmas dinner, and we just hung out, played Uno, chit chatted. It was a exchange gifts. So I really wanted to foster, because I had a step parent, and I wanted to do the opposite of what I experienced as a step parent,
Got it.
as a stepchild. Yeah.
Wonderful. You know what? I'm just appreciating both you sharing, really and truly. It's for me, it's very encouraging, and I know for everyone who's watching this or listening to this live on the replay, this is a very the only thing sunnier than this conversation right now is the sun outside that I feel. That's the only thing, son. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. Let me ask you something with how have your career paths influenced or inspired each other's work? If so, how?
Oh, well, I'm going to say this. I kind of get the feeling that I mean, I think you actually said this. I was the one who was like, yeah, we shouldn't. I mean, are we just going to work for somebody else for the rest of our lives and blah, blah, blah. And I was kind of like talking to myself in a way,
Right.
But Fatima took it like, she just went, she just, I don't know. You have to understand her personality is that if she gets it into her head, she's going to do something. She just makes it happen quickly. She thinks in a very concise way, and she has the ability. They used to say this in that course. If you're going to do something, if you're going to take a course, you should do the course the way it was intended, the way it was designed. And this is something she's really good at. It is something I am terrible at. So it took me a while to sort of find my footing as far as like, just what am I going to do? I love music, but I love cooking. I thought, I could do that kind of thing because I for some reason at that time I felt a little closer to cooking than I was to music, even though music's kind of a part of me. And I didn't really understand how I was going to make money in music because I was getting older and all that kind of stuff, blah, 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 blah. But she really, she was on fire. She still is. And she inspires me all the time, to be honest with you. That's the truth. I love doing what I'm doing. But she inspires me. And she inspired me to just go, well, this is what you really love to do. Go do it. Because I mean, yeah, you really do that.
That's a two-way street, because he's right. Don't tell me you want to do something and then be wishy-washy about it, because I'm already got it done. And then I tend to want things more than people want it for themselves. So I really had to rein myself in over the years for that, especially in coaching people. I want this business. But then I'm like, here's all the resources. But they're like, I don't know if I want that. So then I had to reel it back in and make it be a conversation, make it be suggestions, a lot of brainstorming, and then leave them to do what the work that they need to do. So that's what I had to do with Ron. I had to leave him to do the work that he needed to do and figure it out for himself. But the way he inspires me is that he brings simplicity to the whole thing. So I had a website, he had a website. My website, you could read for days and hours, and like it just goes on with the reading. And then when his came time to do his website, he's like, too much reading. I had to go on to the website, www.sideways66.com. I want to go on, and all the websites that I go to as a musician, you click cart, click cart, click cart. We're not reading nothing because we're going there because that's what we want. Why else would we be there? We're not going there to read a whole bio. So then I changed my entire website, www.greencurtain.com, to mimic his. So you're going to see my coaching, my speaking, my book. That's it. No talking. All the talking went to the bottom. And then that's how I'm coaching people to do their websites now. Go click, because you're right. People ain't reading. It's just there to buy something that you want. Click cart, done.
Wow. You know what? I'd be remiss. We got to put Fatima's information up on the screen. I've already shared it on all the comment platforms that everyone's watching. But and I know there's probably stuff I left off. But you know what? There's a part 2, so we'll get everything right and more complete the second time. Also want to ask, what are some of the joys and challenges of working together as a Black couple in business and creative spaces?
I don't know if they're specific to to Black people, but I would say that a, a, a challenge in our particular situation is just what we just talked about. Like we move it. We're in a relationship, but we move at different paces, and that can be an issue. That really can be an issue
Who?
for both of us. Well, obvious. I would think that was kind of obvious because you're gonna get bent out of shape if I'm not like
I don't know where you, I don't know where he gets that from.
No, I'm assuming this is an assumption.
It's an assumption. You know what happens when you assume? He says that all the time. Oh, you want me to go this fast and you want me to do this fast and I can't think as fast as you. I have never said that though. I have never said. I was already warned. He's like really loving this now. It's like watching them go at it. I was already.
I just want you to be yourselves. Whatever turns out, turns out.
And we are ourselves right now. Right. I was warned from the jump. He's not going to move as fast as you are. You are somebody who's just like bang, 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 bang. And that's my years of training in IT and help desk. If somebody calls you, they got a problem with their computer, they're already upset. You need to solve it and get them off. Solve it, get them off. So I'm a solve it, get it going type of person. And I had to realize that not everybody's like that. Ron is like not that. He takes his time. He has to mull it over. He has to look at all. And this is a thing that he does, and a thing that I didn't do. That's something that works, and it's a joy now. He reads reviews. I am not reading a review or nothing. I'm gonna buy it when it doesn't work. I'm gonna be mad, cursing down the place. And him and my kids are like, "That's because you should have read the review." So if I were to slow down, take my time, read some reviews, mull it over instead of just jumping in the water and figuring it out, then things would be a little bit smoother for me. So I think we have an ebb and flow that way. So now I've learned over the 13 years of being married to him, slow down, read some reviews. Maybe there's a reason why he takes his time. Maybe there's a reason why there's a slower to process instead of quick to act and then deal with all the fallout and the drama, right? So I think it's a challenge and a joy both that way. And I'm really starting to see it and appreciate it.
That's cool. That's good.
Well, the thing is though, like where that's, I have a lot of like just personal insecurities and I have to work my way through a lot of things. And so I'm the kind of person, and the other side of it is that, well, I have an artist mentality.
Let's not forget he's an artist.
I'm not really a business guy. You know what I'm saying? Whereas this one here, she comes from business people. You know, like she gets that. She's watched it happen as a kid, watched people doing business. Me, my mother was an artist. The journey's almost everything to me. I enjoy what I do to the point where, if nobody else cared, really, it's not for me to give. I have a potty mouth. I don't want to swear on your show.
It's okay.
But I do.
Be yourself. Be yourself, please.
Well,
and thank you. If you can't be yourself, get off the show right now.
Got you. That's good.
All right. All right. So be yourself. That's what we're going to do a part 2 so you can really be yourself. Go ahead now.
But yeah, like, so the thing is with me is that the time it takes is all, and a lot of times it's a part of the pleasure, right? If I'm producing a piece of music, I'm loving the experience. The finished product is great.
The journey
is really awesome. I love the way it sounds. I love, wow, I can do this, I can do that. Yeah, that's really important to me. So if it takes a little bit longer, in some respects, in some certain kind of logic, it's better, right? But that thing about the reviews is something I love. I don't like being fooled. You know, I don't want to look back and go, if I just read the damn thing, I wouldn't have this problem. I would have bought this. I have an interface that I bought, and it's a good interface, but there's better ones, and I could have bought them, but I didn't. You know what I mean? And now I'm like, I'm gonna use this one until it conks, but because the other one's really pricey. But I should have just bought the other one.
Yes.
Because I bought it at a time when I didn't have the experience. So
And-
that's how I roll, and I can see how it can be frustrating, but.
And the other thing that I think makes a difference is that he's also comes from a chef background, right? And he's always about mise en place, everything in its place. How does he could taste something and tell you all the ingredients that's in it. And I'm tasting it just for the mere pleasure that it feeds my soul and it tastes good and the flavors in my mouth just explode. But then cooking takes time and mixing the things together so that you know what goes well with what and what enhances what flavor and what doesn't, as opposed to being told just put a pinch here, a dash there, and it's gonna come out, right? You don't got the background behind each ingredient. Ron brings that to my life. He gives me the background behind each ingredient. And the other thing he does as an artist, and people say, "Oh, how are you with artists?" I said, I live with one, so my God, I've gotten better at it. When he first came back, he would see the changes in the seasons, because in Florida only had one season.
Yeah.
And he would notice these flowers, the purple flowers that grow on the side of the road, on the side of the highway. He would notice them every year. And I'm like, what is wrong with this guy and this hairy fairiness about these flowers? But then I started to notice the difference in the seasons, in walking outside, going into nature when the flowers are in bloom, just the buds. And I started to look at it from that kind of lens, like, because he also likes to take pictures. So I started to look at life from a photographer lens, from a food lens, from an artistic lens. So that's another thing that was a challenge, but that he's brought to my life that makes it a joy.
And that's the thing, right? The challenge is, in this particular relationship, they always end up being really beneficial because your ability to stay on task. I mean, I incorporate that into my own existence, my own projects in a way that I never would have if I wasn't with this person. I watch her do it, and I deal with the fact that like if something's taken a long time, I start to think, oh, what's she thinking? Like, I got to get on, and so it works out for me too.
And we could go on forever.
Really good.
Well, that's what we're doing a part two. You say, I already told you, but you're not listening. You're listening, but you're not hearing to me. Maybe I'm sure they taught that in Landmark, listening and hearing. I'm sure that came up. Got her.
I heard. Did you do Landmark too?
No, I didn't.
Did you know about it? Did you hear about it?
No, lots and lots about it, and a lot of coaching clients I have done it.
Ah,
it's a great program. I don't know what it's like now, but it really changed my life in a big way. Made a lot of things possible.
It changed both yours. I'm going to ask a favor.
We're
going to do a part two.
Okay.
Because there's still a lot of things to cover. I want to spend the last few moments. Fatima, talk about your book. You kept on putting it up there. Tell us a little bit about your book.
So the book is called Over the Wall, and it's my life story of being 18 months, being sent to Barbados to be living with my grandmother and coming back at 8 years old. And at 8 years old, it talks about the microaggressions, anti-Black racism, and cultural identity that I faced. And still getting to know my mom. Because in my recollection, I'd only seen her once in those 8 years. And then takes you through the relationship between me and my kid's dad, who the same thing happened to him. So when we got together, being raised by his grandmother. So when we got together, we didn't know what it was like to be raised by parents, because you and your listeners can agree it's different when you're raised by your grandparents, correct?
Yes.
100% different. So we didn't know what it was like to do that. So we didn't make it, but we produced 2 beautiful kids. And then it goes on to talk about meeting Ron in elementary school, being friends for 6 years, apart for 25, and then coming back together and being married for 25 years. So that is a synopsis of the book.
Wow. What pushed you to write this book? Because I've never written a book. People say I should. I've come close. but I haven't got there yet. What was the decision? What made you write this book?
So I wanted to write a book initially in 2009 as a single parent to help other single parents cope, to remind them to do self-care, to look after themselves and not just do everything and be everything and get run down and depleted and then they're sick. So I wanted to do that. But then I met a ghostwriter and she said, your story is really powerful. You should switch it to your story. And then having the conversation with Ron, he wants to do a business, he could do the cooking, he could do music. And what am I going to do? I didn't know what I was going to do, but the book was the thing that I did.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Is there another book in the making?
I have it's called Messages of Hope. So during the pandemic, I took words and I broke them down and turned them into an inspirational message. So right now in the middle of formulating that, it's 3 volumes, putting it together, and I want to have it be done by the ending of this year.
All right. We'll leave part 1. I'm going to ask one more conversation piece. What suggestions would you like to give to 2 groups of people? Actually, 3 groups of people I'm thinking now. First of all, those who aren't, or maybe 2, those who aren't married, who are Black and want to be married.
What do you think?
I'm thinking, because we had this conversation, and maybe this is what part 2 is about, because Ron has this thing, and he's always had this thing because we're from 2 different backgrounds culturally. I'm from Barbados, so West Indian. Ron is Canadian, Black presenting, white raised. So he doesn't have the concept of the same way I would have the concept of Black, correct?
I'm not culturally Black.
The
I'm
culturally
culturally English, Irish, Canadian.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
So
I've been,
what would we say to couples though?
Yeah, sure.
That want to be married, that identify as Black, let's put it that way. And I don't think it matters. I think it matters if you're a human being and you want to be married, right? And if there's a thing that the difference in culturally different artists versus non-artists or whatever that is, I would say to those people, you got to know yourself. You got to know yourself, and to thine own self be true. Be true to who you are. And just like you've been saying to us this whole time, be yourself. Don't try and change yourself I can't change myself to be like Ron, because it would be impossible, because I wasn't adopted and I wasn't raised by somebody who didn't look like me, didn't sound like me, and wasn't me. So I can't do that. And it would be impossible for me to try to do that. It would just be weird, right? And if you are just knowing yourself and you are true to yourself, figure out what it is that you want, your likes, your dislikes. You can compromise, but you need to stay true to who you are at the core. Who are the essence? And I keep asking my clients is, who are you at the level of a human being? Figure out that. Who are you at the level of a human being? And then nothing or no one can rock your foundation. That's what I would say.
Ron?
I would say try to be understanding, and to realize that your relationship is between you and this person. I mean, I go on about this for a while, but there's something that really bothers me, is that there's just not that much community. There just isn't. And because there's not that much community, you cannot worry about what other people are saying. If there's a real small sort of tight-knit community, it'd be a different thing, because you'd know everybody's intentions and all that. But you really got to make sure that you know where you're coming from and listen for where the other person's coming from, so you're not influenced by all the people around you. Because the people around you probably got ulterior motives anyway. And I've always had that kind of problem in relationships. It's easy to listen. Pardon me, I haven't. I've listened to other people's problems that way. I'm very introverted in a lot of ways, and I don't necessarily like. I don't have a huge amount of friends and stuff like that. But you can't let other people get into your relationship. It's important for me personally.
Love it. Love it. Well, since Miss Driving Business Person the way she is, we've come to the top of the hour, so we don't want to waste her valuable time, because it's so nice that you're on, you're in this country, because for a few months you were out of country. You were like not even in this country. So it's good to have you back.
Thank you.
I want to say thanks to both of you for taking the most important thing, your time to share with us. We have a whole other conversation still to come. And Ron, I'm not going to forget, we got to talk about the community aspect that you brought up. It's very, for both of you, I know it's very important. For me, it's very important. I know for many people listening and watching this, getting your perspectives individually as a couple about the community, which is a word I don't use that often because I say there's more of a Black environment than a Black community. That will be for part 2. But I just want to say thanks both of you very much. If we could get Fatima's information back up on the screen, want to say thank you so much for taking the most important thing, your time to share with both of us today. And part 2, I'm already going to be bugging you after we finish. When are we going to book part 2? Because there's a whole section. But as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy, and remember to give yourself grace. Be well and keep the faith. Thank you.
Thank you. Ciao.
We have to stay.
I love it. I love it. Good stuff. All right, everybody. Great conversation. There will be a part 2, and I'm booking that right after we finish today, right after. So let's clean it up here at the end. If you want to get in touch, well, you know what? Not in touch with you. Subscribe. And if you haven't, subscribe to the Dr. Vibe YouTube channel. This is a perfect reason why. And hit the notification button. Also, like the Dr. Vibe Show on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, X/Twitter, Blue Sky, and TikTok. Also, to advertise your business, product, or service on any of the shows I'm on, email me, dr.vib at the drvibeshow.com. Also, if you want to get in touch with me, my website, the drvibeshow.com, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, The Dr. Vibe Show, Instagram at the drvibeshow, X/Twitter at drvibeshow, and email dr.vib at the drvibeshow.com. You can also catch me on Substack at drvibe.substack.com/subscribe, and also on Blue Sky at drvibe.bsky.social. And you can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the website. So as always, I like to say this: live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get small to get stronger. Block assumptions. They aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. And as always, don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Remember to give yourself grace. And if you're not making money, make history. But try to do both. And always make it better. God bless. Peace be well. Keep the faith. Walk good. And we'll catch you soon.
Just take a quick moment.
Yeah.
You just introduce yourself. Let Dr. Vibe welcome you into the show. As I told you, Dr. Vibe.
No. I welcome. I'm really good to have you here. I didn't want to. You were on a roll. I didn't want to interrupt. You were on a roll, but
In an award created by whites, dominated by whites, run by whites, and you're a billionaire, bro. FYI, I don't. It's probably the first time of the year that I use the word bro.
yes, it is. That's the first time, as long as I've known you, you used it.
My daughter would laugh if she heard me say bro.
But for many people, the economy ain't great. Says, there we go. I saw that.